Well, the Fox News at Night Common Sense Department was watching today as the president of NPR, Catherine Maher, testified before the House DOGE committee. If you don't know, Republicans are looking to cut NPR's federal funding over concerns about fairness, liberal bias. Or as longtime NPR editor Uri Berliner said about his former network, they have, quote, lost America's trust. Berliner was talking about things like Russian collusion, where NPR interviewed Adam Schiff 25 times, and they interviewed James Comer 0 times. Or as Congressman Pat Fallon said, today, NPR's editorial positions include 87 registered Democrats and 0 registered Republicans. Common Sense thinks NPR is the broadcast version of the USS Poseidon, a bit of a balance problem. But NPR President Maher is now insisting the network is, quote, responsible to serve Americans across the full political spectrum. Kind of odd coming from a woman who once called Donald Trump, quote, a deranged, racist sociopath. Maher says she now regrets that statement, but Common Sense wonders if she also regrets saying America is addicted to white supremacy and that the number one challenge in American journalism is the First Amendment. Common Sense thinks if NPR wants to win back America's trust, they could start by interviewing or hiring even one.
Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.
Registered Republican.
Funding for news outlets like NPR and PBS could be pulled due to political bias. Democrats fight back by invoking fictional characters from Sesame Street. Elon Musk and the DOGE team explain what they're actually doing inside the federal government. And there's a shocking revelation that's been released regarding Social Security that all of us need to be informed about. Now, I've got all of that and a whole lot more, so let's go ahead and get right down to it with NPR's relationship and leadership. So NPR's CEO looked flustered as she was embarrassed during the recent hearing with the House Oversight and Government Reform Subcommittee. Now, you would think that she would at least try to remember biased things that she said in the past, giving her a chance to at least defend her own words. But it looks like she didn't even try her best.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. Ha, how white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America. Yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt. Yes, reparations. Yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted.
That was NPR CEO Catherine Maher. And I know what you're thinking. This is a train wreck, right? But believe me, guys, when I tell you that things become even worse, they do. The accusation is that NPR is biased, the same accusation that PBS is facing right now. Republicans argue that the network is out of touch with what a majority of the country thinks, especially as President Trump won by a landslide last year. The idea is that they should have their federal funding cut completely. Maher, on the other hand, doesn't agree with this concept.
It's time to act on what conservatives have been railing about for years: the continued federal funding of NPR and its sister television network, PBS. Because Maher and her defenders of NPR, can't honestly claim that its news programming is balanced, they fall back on the argument that the network gets only a tiny fraction of its $300 million budget from the taxpayers. Well, my response to that is, who cares? NPR shouldn't get a dime from the taxpayers, certainly not for any news gathering or news or commentary operations. Look, we have plenty of news outlets in America, including Fox News, CNN, all these others. We don't need to spend taxpayer dollars for another one that is reliably just an arm of the Democrat Party.
You believe your reporters are fair? You said they're fair and they're working at it.
I believe that they work to be every day, sir.
The recent registration, when it was looked at, 87 Democrats and 0 Republicans registered.
I found that very concerning.
Shouldn't be surprising when their own CEO says things like, I'm so done with late-stage capitalism, or calls the President of the United States a deranged racist sociopath, or that America's addicted to white supremacy. I understand why Democrats on this committee are going to viciously and vehemently defend you all, because you become a propaganda wing of the Democratic Party.
And I get it. PBS is trying to use Sesame Street and Elmo as a way to defend themselves, to say that they're not partisan at all. But I don't think Elmo can do anything once we get down to the numbers. You guys might find this interesting. A study from late last year shows how biased PBS was. Now, in terms of coverage of the RNC, it shows that their commentary was 72% negative and 28% positive. When it was Kamala Harris's turn at the DNC, that number flipped. The positive commentary hit 88%, while the negative was at 12%. From June 2023 to the end of November last year, PBS NewsHour used the term far right 162 times. Within the same period, they used the term far left just 6 times. Now, I understand that we're all smart and we understand that there's a bias that exists within news outlets. The problem with NPR and PBS is that they're getting money from taxpayers. If they want to be partisan, it would be best for them to outright say no to federal funding. And with how obvious it is that they're biased, it's clear that this is indefensible. Now, here's what President Trump had to say about it.
Well, I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased, the whole group. I mean, a whole group of them. And frankly, there's plenty. Look at all the media you have right now. There's plenty of coverage. I was from a different age, and they spend more money than any other network of its type ever conceived. So the kind of money that's being wasted, and it's a very biased view, you know that better than anybody. And I'd be honored to see it end. We're well covered. Look at all the people that we have here today. We're well covered, and we don't need it. And it's a waste of money, especially. I don't even know what DOGE's recommendation is. I assume their recommendation is to close them up.
Well, after they hear all the testimony, I think they're going to make a decision relatively sooner than later.
Yeah.
But we'll see what that turns out.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't, because they have found so much waste, fraud, and abuse. Hundreds of billions of dollars, and just waste, fraud, abuse. You heard yesterday some of the new things that were found. 22 billion just in environment. Billion. You know, if you had 22 million, Warren, it would be nice. But 22 billion put into environmental accounts.
Which brings me to Elon Musk and DOGE. They were recently on Fox News to talk about the work that they're doing and just how much waste that they're finding within the federal government. Check this out.
Our goal is to reduce the deficit by $1 trillion. From a nominal deficit of $2 trillion to try to cut the deficit in half to $1 trillion, or looked at it in total federal spending to drop the federal spending from $7 trillion to $6 trillion. We want to reduce the spending by eliminating waste and fraud, reduce the spending by 15%, which seems really quite achievable. The government is not efficient, and there's a lot of waste and fraud. So we feel confident that a 15% reduction can be done without affecting any of the critical government services.
I'm going to talk to all the guys.
If not making it better.
I'm going to talk to all the guys here about the specifics, but for you, what's the most astonishing thing you've found out in this process?
The sheer amount of waste and fraud in the government. It is astonishing. It's mind-blowing. We routinely encounter wastes of $1 billion or more, casually. For example, like the simple survey that was literally 10-question survey that you could do with SurveyMonkey, cost you about $10,000. The government was being charged almost $1 billion for that.
For just the survey?
$1 billion for a simple online survey. Do you like the national park? And then there appeared to be no feedback loop for what would be done with that survey. So the survey would just go into nothing.
Now, a lot of details here shocked me, but none more than this one. Here's Elon Musk talking about the fraud that's being done with Social Security benefits and what's about to happen as soon as he and his team finds all this waste. Watch.
They steal people's Social Security is what happens. Is they call in, they say they claim to be a retiree, then they convince the Social Security person on the phone to change where the money's flowing. It actually goes to some fraudster. This is happening all day, every day. And then somebody doesn't receive their Social Security. It's because of all the fraud loopholes in the Social Security system.
How do you reassure people that what you all are doing is not going to affect their benefits?
No, in fact, what we're doing will help their benefits. Legitimate people, as a result of the work of DOGE, will receive more Social Security, not less. I want to emphasize that. As a result of the work of DOGE, legitimate recipients of Social Security will receive more money, not less money.
All right.
I want to emphasize that point and let the record show that I said this, and it will be proven out to be true.
You heard him, folks. Legitimate recipients of Social Security should get more money after DOGE is done, not less. They intend to clean the mess that's in there. They're going to remove recipients who don't deserve this money. But here's my question, guys. Do you think that it's a good idea to remove fraud and have that money added to Social Security? Now, on the flip side, we have Democrats who are telling Elon Musk to keep his hands off Social Security. I covered this in a recent live stream that I urge you to check out after this one because this affects all of us. As always, thank you for hitting the like button and subscribing. We'll see you guys next time. Jasmine Crockett. So Crockett was recently asked if she owed disabled people an apology. Now, this is after she made fun of Governor Greg Abbott by calling him Governor Hot Wheels. Crockett, on her end, feels as if an apology is not necessary.
Put out a statement regarding that. You didn't apologize. I did out a statement. Why would I apologize when I put out a statement? My statement was clear. But you didn't apologize for calling him Governor Hot Wheels when he gets around in a wheelchair. I don't know how that's offensive. I don't understand. Who have a disability need me to repeat this to you.
Right, but why won't you apologize?
I put out a statement.
They did not have an apology.
So read my statement.
I did read it. It did not have an apology.
Okay, well, I'm done with
You don't feel bad about making fun of someone who is in a wheelchair?
What's not surprising is that Republicans aren't happy with Crockett, although it is shocking to hear that some Democrats are also not very fond of Crockett. So Jasmine Crockett represents the far left, and many people see her as a radical who doesn't really care what she says. Now, the bad news is that somebody's already waiting at the sideline to unseat her come 2026. His name is Sheldon Daniels, and it looks like his chances keep getting better, especially with the Congresswoman repeatedly making mistakes. Watch.
A lot to talk about. You know, what you'd like to see done, how you would like to participate in the legislative process, and so much more. But let's talk, if we can, about Congresswoman Crockett and that district specifically. It's not a shock of how she speaks, the inflammatory rhetoric that continues to come out of this woman's mouth, and it goes on. It's not the first time. But this comment about Governor Hot Wheels, can you talk about these remarks against Governor Abbott?
You know, this is what happens when a politician has no real accomplishments like Jasmine Crockett. She resorts to childish insults instead of doing her job. You know, her calling Governor Abbott Hot Wheels, it's not just disrespectful, it's disgusting. This is the governor of Texas. This is a man who has dedicated his career to public service, and her idea of leadership is making fun of his disability. And like you said, this isn't the first time that she's embarrassed our district. It's a pattern. She gets on TV, she runs her mouth, and then she does absolutely nothing for the people of TX30. She's more focused on being a viral sensation on social media than delivering results. But voters are watching, and Texas deserves better.
And she's not sorry, really, for those remarks. At least she won't come out and straight up apologize. She shared this on X to attempt to clarify the Hot Wheels remark, saying, "I wasn't thinking about the governor's condition. I was thinking about the planes, trains, and automobiles he used to transfer migrants into communities led by black mayors." Your thoughts about her justification for the comment?
You know, that's so completely untrue, because we actually discovered an earlier tweet, I want to say from a year or two ago, where she made a similar joke in the same vein, making fun of Governor Abbott and his condition. I need to pull the tweet, but if you go to my timeline on X, you will be able to see it. I reposted it.